past midnight when I parked my car. The garage was almost empty. Too empty. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel normal. It presses on your ears, like the world outside just stopped existing. No distant traffic. No voices. Not even the hum of a ventilation fan. Just silence, thick and heavy. I remember sitting there for a second longer than usual, my hands still on the steering wheel. I don't know why. Something felt off, but I couldn't explain it. Maybe it was the lighting. Half the fluorescent lights above were flickering, casting this uneven glow that made everything look broken, like the place was slowly dying. I finally turned off the engine. The sound cut out instantly, and for a moment it felt like I had just made a mistake, like the noise of the engine was protecting me from something I couldn't see. I grabbed my phone out of habit and glanced at it. No signal. That didn't make sense. This wasn't some underground bunker. It was just a regular parking garage. I had parked here before during the day, and everything was fine. But now, nothing. I opened the car door slowly. The creak sounded louder than it should have. It echoed across the concrete walls, bouncing back at me in a way that made me feel exposed. Like announcing, I'm here. I stepped out and closed the door behind me. Click! The lock sound was sharp. Final. I looked around. Rows of empty parking spaces stretched in every direction. Concrete pillars stood like silent watchers, each one casting long shadows that shifted slightly with the flickering lights. It felt like something could be hiding behind any one of them, and I wouldn't know until it was too late. I adjusted my bag on my shoulder and started walking toward the elevator. Step, step, step. Each footstep echoed louder than the last, like the garage was amplifying every movement I made. I tried to walk more quietly, but it didn't matter. The sound followed me, filling the space. I kept my eyes forward, but my mind kept drifting behind me. It felt like I was being watched. You know that feeling? When you don't see anything, but your body reacts anyway? Like something deep inside you is trying to warn you. I ignored it. I told myself I was just tired. But then I noticed something. Out of the corner of my eye, a car, parked a few rows behind where I had been. Black, completely still. I slowed down. I was almost certain that spot had been empty when I arrived. I would have noticed it. I always notice nearby cars, especially at night. It's just a habit. But now, it was there. I turned my head slightly, trying not to make it obvious. The car didn't move. Of course it didn't. But something about it felt wrong. The windows were too dark. Not just tinted, but black. Like they weren't reflecting anything at all. No light. No shapes. Nothing. I stopped walking. The silence rushed back in immediately. I stood there, staring at the car, trying to make sense of it. Maybe I just didn't see it before, I whispered to myself. My voice sounded small, weak. I looked away and forced myself to keep moving. Step, step, step. Faster now. I didn't want to look back again, but I couldn't help it. After a few seconds, I turned around. The car was still there, but it felt closer. Not by much. Just enough to make my chest tighten. I frowned. That wasn't possible. I hadn't heard an engine. No tires. No movement. And yet, the distance between us didn't feel the same. I stared at it for a few seconds longer, trying to convince myself I was imagining things. The lights above flickered again. For a brief moment, the entire garage went dark. And in that instant, I had this overwhelming feeling, like I wasn't just being watched anymore. Like something had taken a step toward me. I kept moving, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. The black car was still behind me. I told myself not to look again, just walk, get to the elevator, leave. Simple. But nothing about that place felt simple anymore. The sound of my footsteps came back, louder now, faster. But there was something wrong with them. They didn't match me. Mine were sharp and quick. The other sound, softer, slower. Like someone was taking careful steps, trying not to be heard. I stopped. The sound stopped too. That silence hit harder than anything. I turned around. The car was there again, same black shape, same dark windows, but now it wasn't in the same spot. It was closer, much closer, at least 2 rows ahead of where it had been before. My chest tightened. "No," I whispered under my breath. "That's not possible." I hadn't heard anything. Not even the slightest movement. No engine starting. No tires rolling across concrete. Nothing. And yet, it had moved. I stood there, frozen, staring at it like if I looked long enough, it would explain itself. It didn't. The lights above flickered again, buzzing softly. That faint electrical hum filled the silence, making everything feel even more unreal. I tried to think. Logically. Maybe someone was inside. Maybe they rolled the car forward slowly while I was walking. Maybe I just didn't notice. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. You can hear a car move in a place like that. Every little sound echoes. There's no way I would have missed it. I took a step back, then another. My eyes stayed locked on the car, waiting, watching, hoping for anything to make sense. But the car just sat there, still, quiet, wrong. I turned away again, this time more quickly, and started walking faster toward the elevator. Step, step, step. My heartbeat started syncing with my pace. Loud, heavy. I could feel it in my throat. Halfway there, I made the mistake of glancing to my side. There it was again. The same car. Now parked along the row parallel to me. Close enough that I could clearly see the outline of the driver's seat through the windshield. Empty. No one inside. I slowed down without meaning to. My brain tried to catch up with what I was seeing. How? Did it get there? I muttered. I hadn't passed it. There was no sound, no movement. And yet, it was now ahead of me, like it had been waiting. I stopped again. I didn't want to get closer, but I couldn't just stand there either. The air felt colder suddenly, heavier, like the garage itself was closing in. I looked around quickly. Still no one. No footsteps. No doors opening. No voices. Just me. And that car. I focused on it again. Something felt different this time. Not just its position. Something else. I squinted slightly, trying to see through the darkness of the windows. For a second, I thought I saw something move inside. Just a shift. A shadow. I blinked. Nothing. Empty again. My breathing became shallow. I took a slow step forward. Then another. Every instinct in my body told me to run, but my legs didn't move that way. They moved carefully, like getting too fast would trigger something. I was now just a few spaces away from the car, close enough to see my own reflection, faintly in the glass. The flickering lights made it unstable, like my reflection wasn't fully there. I leaned slightly, trying to get a better look inside. That's when I noticed it. The reflection. It didn't match me. I froze. My reflection was standing still, but I had just moved. My heart dropped. Slowly, carefully, I raised my hand. In the reflection, it didn't move. For a second, my brain refused to process it. I just stared, confused. Then the reflection lifted its hand, a second too late. A slow, delayed mimic, like it was copying me, learning me. A chill ran down my spine. I stepped back immediately. This time, the reflection didn't follow at all. It just stood there, facing me, not moving, not blinking. Even though I was, my breath caught in my throat. And then, very slowly, the reflection leaned closer to the glass. From the inside, I stumbled back, nearly losing my balance, my eyes still locked on the window. That reflection, it wasn't mine. Not anymore. I could still see my shape in the glass, but it felt distant now, like something pushed behind another presence. Something that didn't belong there. Something that had been waiting for me to notice. I forced myself to breathe. Slow, quiet. My chest felt tight, like the air around me had thickened. "No one's inside," I whispered, trying to ground myself. I had seen it. The seat was empty. The car was empty. But the glass, the reflection, It told a different story. I took another step back, and that's when I noticed the camera, mounted high on the concrete pillar across from me, a small red light blinking steadily. I hadn't seen it before. I stared at it for a second longer than I should have. There was something unsettling about the way it was positioned. Not angled toward the parking lanes, not watching the entrance or exit. It was pointed directly at me. I shifted slightly to the side. The camera made a soft mechanical sound, a tiny click, and then it moved, following me. My stomach dropped. Okay, Lee, that's normal, I said under my breath, even though it didn't feel normal at all. Security cameras move, but this didn't feel like a general scan. It felt focused, precise, like someone was controlling it, watching me. I turned my head slowly, scanning the rest of the garage, and then I saw another one. Further down, same red blinking light, same angle, pointed at me. I took a step back. That one moved too. Both of them now adjusting, aligning, tracking. I felt exposed, completely exposed, like every movement I made was being recorded, analyzed, understood. A third camera clicked somewhere behind me. I didn't even need to turn around to know it was there. I could feel it. That same quiet hum, that same presence. I swallowed hard and forced myself to look. There it was, mounted above the elevator area. And just like the others, it was already facing me, waiting. I hadn't even reached the elevator yet, and it already knew where I was going. A cold wave of realization washed over me. This wasn't random. None of this was random. The car, the reflection, the silence, and now these cameras. It felt like I had walked into something that was already in motion, like I wasn't discovering it. I was part of it. I took a slow step toward the elevator. The cameras followed, all of them, perfectly synchronized. Their movements were too smooth, too intentional, like eyes turning in unison. I tried to ignore them, tried to act normal, but my body wasn't cooperating. Every nerve felt alert. Every sound felt amplified. Even my breathing sounded too loud. I reached the wall near the elevator and pressed the button. The soft ding echoed through the garage. For a moment, nothing happened. I kept my eyes forward, refusing to look at the cameras again, but I could still feel them, watching, unblinking. The elevator didn't come. Instead, one of the cameras made a sharper sound, a quick adjustment. I couldn't help it. I looked. Its lens had tilted slightly downward now. Not at me, face anymore. At my hands. My fingers tightened. Why would it focus there? What was it looking for? The red light blinked faster for a moment, then steadied again. I glanced at the other cameras. They hadn't moved, still locked on me, except one, the one near the car. It had turned, not toward me, but toward the black car. I followed its gaze slowly. The car was still there, still silent, still wrong. But now, something about it had changed. The driver's side door. It was slightly open, just enough to create a thin line of darkness between the door and the frame. I stared at it, my mind struggling to catch up. I hadn't heard it open. I hadn't seen anyone, but it wasn't closed anymore. A quiet creak echoed through the garage. Soft, slow. The door moved a little wider, and every single camera shifted toward it all at once, like they were waiting, like they were expecting something to come out. The sound came again. Soft, clear, a single footstep. It echoed through the garage like it didn't belong there. I froze. My eyes were still locked on the black car, on that slightly open door, but now my attention shifted. My body reacted before my mind could. Every muscle tightened, waiting for the next sound. Silence. Then another step. Closer. I turned my head slowly, scanning the space around me. The rows were still empty. The pillars stood still. The flickering lights buzzed faintly above. No one. There was no one there. And yet, I heard it. Step. This time it came from behind. Me. I spun around quickly. Nothing. just the long stretch of concrete and shadows. My breathing started to pick up, short, uneven. "This isn't real," I whispered. But even as I said it, another step echoed, not matching mine, not synced, separate. I decided to test it. Slowly, carefully, I took one step forward. My shoe scraped lightly against the ground. A second later, another step followed, softer, delayed. My stomach dropped. I stopped walking. The echo came again. One more step after I had already stopped, like something was catching up. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I just listened. Nothing. The silence stretched longer this time, almost convincing me that maybe it was just sound bouncing strangely around the walls. Maybe the acoustics were playing tricks on me. I took another step, and again, that second footstep came. Behind me, not loud, not rushed, just there, following. I clenched my fists, trying to control the panic building inside my chest. "Turn around," I told myself, quietly, "just turn around and look." But my body resisted, because deep down, I already knew what I would see. Nothing, and somehow, that was worse. I forced myself anyway. Slowly, I turned. My eyes scanned every corner, every shadow, every gap between the cars and pillars. Empty. Completely empty. But the feeling didn't go away. It got stronger. Like something was standing just outside my vision. Close enough to hear. Close enough to follow. I backed up a step. The sound came again. One more. Step. Matching the distance. I shook my head, trying to clear it. No. No, no. I turned back toward the elevator, trying to focus on something real, something solid. The metal doors, the button, the wall. I walked faster now. Step, step, step. And behind me, step, step, step. Still there, still following, never rushing, never stopping, just keeping pace. I reached the elevator and pressed the button again, harder this time. The faint ding echoed, but it sounded distant, like it came from somewhere deeper than it should. I kept my finger on the button, like pressing it harder would make it come faster. Another step echoed behind me, closer now. So close I could almost feel the movement in the air. I didn't turn around this time. I couldn't. My eyes stayed fixed on the closed elevator doors, waiting, listening. The footsteps stopped, right behind me. So close that I could feel a presence. Heavy. Still. I held my breath. Seconds passed. Nothing moved. Nothing breathed. But it was. There. I knew it was there. My hand slowly dropped from the button. The silence was unbearable now, louder than any noise. I swallowed hard and finally, slowly, turned my head just a little. Not fully. Just enough to see behind me from the corner of my eye. Empty. There was nothing there. But the moment I looked forward again, another step echoed. Not behind me this time. In front of me, right near the elevator doors. My heart jumped into my throat. I stared at the metal surface. And then I saw it. A faint reflection. Not clear. Distorted by the brushed metal, but visible enough. There were two figures standing there. One of them was me. The other, standing just inches away, was not moving at all. I kept my eyes locked on the elevator doors. That reflection didn't move. Not even slightly. My own chest was rising and falling fast. My shoulders tense, my head barely steady. But the second figure behind me stayed completely still. No breathing, no shift, nothing. I blinked hard. Maybe it was just distortion. The surface wasn't clear. It warped shapes, stretched shadows. My brain could be filling in something that wasn't really there. I swallowed and forced myself to move. Slowly, I lifted my hand. In the reflection, I saw my arm go up. But the other figure didn't react, didn't mirror, didn't exist the way a normal reflection should. It just stood there, right behind me, too close. I felt a cold wave crawl up my spine. I told myself to turn around. Just turn around and face whatever it is. But something inside me resisted, because as long as I didn't fully look, there was still a chance it wasn't real. The elevator let out a low mechanical hum. The doors began to slide open. The sound cut through the silence like a warning. I didn't take my eyes off the reflection. As the gap between the doors widened, the lighting shifted. The flicker from above hit the metal at a different angle, and for a brief second, the second figure looked clearer. Taller than me. Head slightly tilted. Too still. The doors opened fully. I snapped my gaze forward into the elevator. Empty. Bright compared to the garage. Safe, or at least it felt that way for a second. I stepped inside quickly and turned around, my back hitting the wall as I faced the opening. The garage stretched out in front of me again. Empty. No one standing there. No second figure. Nothing. My breath came out shaky. See, I whispered to myself. Nothing's there. But my voice didn't sound convinced. I looked at the panel and pressed the button for the ground floor. The doors didn't close. I pressed it again. Nothing. The elevator stayed open. Still. Silent. Like it was waiting. A chill ran through me. I glanced back at the garage. Everything looked the same. Except, it didn't feel the same. The shadows seemed deeper now. The flickering lights slower. And then I noticed it. The reflection again. Not on the door this time. On the side panel, inside the elevator. Faint, but visible. I turned my head slightly. There I was, standing alone. But something was wrong. My reflection looked delayed, just like before with the car window. I moved my head a little. A second later, the reflection followed. My stomach dropped. No, I whispered. I moved again, faster this time. The reflection lagged behind, then stopped. While I was still moving, my breath caught in my throat. The elevator lights flickered once, just once, and in that blink of darkness, I felt it, that same presence, right behind me again. Closer than before. I spun around instantly. The elevator was still empty. The doors still open. The garage still silent. But something had changed. The button I pressed, the ground floor, the light beside it was off. Instead, another button was glowing. I hadn't touched it. A floor number I didn't recognize. No label, just a faint symbol next to it. My hand trembled as I reached toward the panel. I didn't remember pressing that. I knew I didn't. But it was selected. The doors suddenly began to close. Fast. Too fast. I stepped forward, instinctively trying to stop them, but they shut completely before I could react. The sound echoed sharply inside the elevator. Then, movement. The elevator started going down. At first, it felt normal. A gentle drop. A soft mechanical hum. But then it kept going, past the ground level. I could feel it. That slight drop in my stomach as it moved lower. I stared at the panel. The numbers didn't change. No floor indicators. Just that same glowing button. The air inside felt heavier, harder to breathe. The lights flickered again, longer this time, and in that dim, unstable glow, I looked at the reflection one more time. This time, it wasn't delayed. It wasn't copying me. It was already moving, before I did, and it slowly turned its head toward me. The elevator kept moving down, but it didn't feel right anymore. At first, it was just a normal descent. A soft hum, a slight pull in my stomach, the kind of movement you don't even think about. But now, it felt different. Heavier, slower, but somehow more intense. Like the elevator wasn't just going down through floors. It was sinking deeper into something else. I kept staring at the panel. That strange button was still glowing. No numbers. No indication of where I was. Just that one symbol. Faint. Unfamiliar. My reflection stayed in the corner of my vision. I didn't want to look at it directly, because I already knew something was wrong. I could feel it. That same presence. Behind me. Closer now. Not just near, but inside the space with me. The air felt tighter, like there wasn't enough of it anymore. I swallowed hard and slowly turned my head toward the mirrored panel. My reflection was there, standing exactly where I was. But the face, it wasn't right. It was looking at me, not forward, not matching my position. It had already turned, watching me before I even fully looked. My heart started pounding harder. "No," I whispered. I forced myself to move. Just a small shift of my shoulder. In the reflection, it didn't follow. It stayed still watching me. Its eyes locked directly onto mine. A cold wave ran through my entire body. That wasn't how reflections worked. I took a step to the side. In real life, I moved. But in the reflection, it didn't. It stayed in the same place, facing me, tracking me, like I was the reflection now, and it was the real one. The elevator lights flickered again, longer this time. The hum of the elevator grew louder, deeper, almost like a low growl. I could feel it vibrating through the floor beneath my feet. I tried to focus, tried to think logically. This isn't possible, this isn't real, but the more I said it, the less it sounded true. I looked back at the panel. Still no numbers. Still that one glowing button. I reached out to press another floor. Any floor. My hand hovered over the panel. And then, it stopped. Not because I wanted it to, but because something felt wrong. Like something didn't want me to touch. It. I felt a chill brush against my arm. Light. Barely there. But enough. But enough. I jerked my hand back instantly. My breath caught in my throat. I wasn't alone in here. I knew it now. There was no more denying it. Slowly, I turned my head again toward the reflection. This time it had moved. Not just the face. The whole body. It was closer. Closer than I was standing in real life. Too close. Its head tilted slightly to the side, studying me, like it was trying to understand something. Or recognize something. Its expression was empty, not angry, not aggressive, just wrong, like a face trying to pretend to be human. The lights flickered again. Darkness swallowed the elevator for a second, and in that moment, I heard something. A breath, right next to my ear. Soft, slow, not mine. I froze completely. The light came back. The reflection was now right in front of me. So close its face almost filled the panel. But I hadn't moved. I hadn't stepped forward. My back was still against the wall, my chest barely rising. And yet, it was there, right in front of me, watching. Its eyes didn't blink, didn't shift. They just stared. Unnatural. Uncomfortable. Knowing. The elevator suddenly jerked. A sharp, violent stop. The hum cut out instantly. Silence flooded in. Complete. Heavy. The lights stayed on, but dimmer now. Flickering slower. I looked at the doors. They didn't open. I looked at the panel. The glowing button turned off. For the first time, total darkness filled the display. Number. Lights. No numbers. Nothing. Then, a new sound. A faint ding. The kind an elevator makes when it reaches a floor. But it didn't feel like arrival. It felt like permission. The doors began to open slowly, and as the gap widened, I realized something that made my entire body go cold. There was no parking garage outside anymore. The doors slid open slowly. Not with that normal, smooth motion. This felt heavier. Like something on the other side was pushing against them or waiting for them. I didn't move. I couldn't. My eyes were locked on the gap as it widened inch by inch. Whatever was outside, it wasn't the parking garage anymore. The light was wrong. Dim, gray, almost lifeless. Not the harsh white flicker from before. This was softer, but somehow worse. The doors opened fully, and I just stood there staring. It looked like a parking level. Same concrete floor, same pillars, same structure, but everything felt empty in a different way. Not just quiet, dead. The air didn't move. The lights didn't flicker. There was no sound at all. Not even the faint hum I had gotten used to. Just stillness. Complete stillness. I hesitated. my hand still pressed against the elevator wall behind me. Every instinct told me not to step out, but something else, something deeper, pulled at me, like curiosity mixed with pressure. Like I was supposed to see this. Slowly, I stepped forward. My foot touched the ground outside the elevator. The sound didn't echo. That was the first thing I noticed. In the garage before, every step bounced back at me. Here, nothing. It was like the space swallowed sound. I took another step. Still nothing. No echo. No response. I turned slightly, looking around. The layout was familiar, but off. The pillars were spaced differently. Too far apart. Or maybe too close. I couldn't tell. The shadows didn't match the light sources. They stretched in directions that didn't make sense. And then I saw it. A car. Black. Parked ahead of me. My chest tightened. Instantly. It was the same one. I knew it was, even without getting closer. The shape. The stillness. The way it just sat there like it had been waiting. I didn't want to move toward it, but my feet did anyway. Slow. Careful. Like I had no control over them. Step. No echo. Step. Silence. The closer I got, the heavier the air felt, like walking through something thick, like the space itself didn't want me there, or didn't want me to leave. I stopped a few feet away. The driver's door was open, wider than before. Darkness filled the inside. Not just shadow. Something deeper. I leaned slightly, trying to see inside. Nothing. Just black. No seats. No details. No depth. Like looking into a hole. I took a step back. My heart pounding harder now. And that's when I noticed it. The reflection. On the side of the car. Faint, but clear enough. I could see myself standing there, facing the door. Frozen. But something was wrong again. The reflection didn't match perfectly. It was already moving. Before I did, I felt my breath catch as I watched it. My reflection took a step forward, but I hadn't moved. It got closer to the open door, leaning in, slowly, like it was being pulled. No, I whispered, shaking my head. I stepped back again, but the reflection didn't stop. It kept moving, closer. Then halfway, it paused and turned its head, not toward the car, toward me. Our eyes met, even though I was outside, and it was just a reflection. Or at least, it should have been. A cold wave ran through my entire body. Then it smiled. Not wide, not exaggerated. Just a small, quiet smile. The kind that doesn't belong in a place like this. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe properly. The reflection turned back toward the car and stepped inside, vanishing into that darkness. I stood there, unable to move, unable to think. Seconds passed, or maybe longer. I don't know. And then I felt something behind me, that same presence, closer than ever, right at my back. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. My entire body went still, my mind racing, trying to understand, trying to deny. But deep down, I already knew. I wasn't watching something else anymore. I wasn't being followed, or observed, or copied. I had been replaced. And whatever stepped into that car wasn't trapped in there anymore.